police and asked them to leave. We didn't even tell them to leave. Ask them to
Well, that's PC.
You ready, Mona?
leave. That's my two problems. If we don't have any TV.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This time, I'd like to have a moment of silence for Giants baseball. Having attended the game last night, I might break down later, but Secretary, please call the roll.
Director Davidson.
Here.
Director Radimer.
Here.
Director Mills.
Here.
Director Underhill.
Here.
And absent is Director Tracy.
Number 2 on the agenda is public comment. This time, the members of the public may address the board on any non-agendized item. Public is encouraged to work through staff to place items on the agenda for board consideration. No action will be taken on matters not listed on the agenda. Comments are limited to 5 minutes per person. Is there any public comment today? Please state your name for us, please.
Well, I don't have to do that, but I will.
Well, for
The Brown Act doesn't. My name is Carlos Stoughton, for some of you. Bertha, who I've known for a number of years. I'm a longtime ratepayer and citizen of Calaveras County. I don't have as big of an audience as I usually do. I'll go to the Board of Supervisors meetings and give them some candy bars, and I don't have candy bars as well. I'm basically here to introduce myself. There was something on the agenda later on that you'll be covering, and I had some interest in it since Terry Strange is my representative. I live in West Point. As Jim Macedo, our sheriff's captain, says, that place is a long, windy road to the middle of nowhere, and oftentimes I feel that way, but I do enjoy living there. So the introduction has been made. I say hello to you, Jeff Davidson, Scott Ratterman, Dennis Mills, and Bertha Underhill, as well as Mona, the very lovely Mona that I get to talk to once in a while on the telephone regarding water issues. I haven't met Dave Egerton yet, but hello. And Matt Weber, who's the counsel here, hello as well. Hopefully we don't have anything to deal with at any time. So, good day.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, we'll move on to item 3, the consent agenda. The following items are expected to be routine, non-controversial. Items will be acted upon by the board at one time without discussion. Any board member may request that an item be removed for later discussion. Item 3A, approval of minutes for the board meeting September 14th, September 28th. Review of 3B, review board of directors monthly timesheets for September 2006. And 3C, discussion, action to ratify claim summary 535. Are there any removals? I entertain a motion for acceptance.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you. Next item is item 4, new business. 4A, discussion action regarding approval of area of benefit, Neville Waterline Extension, Copper Cove. Mr. Kramer?
This is an item pursuant to Ordinance 2006-05, establishing an area of benefit. We have some folks that put in a water line, spent their own money, and they'd like to be reimbursed if any of the neighbors that can do hook up in the next 10 years. That's a relatively short explanation, but it's a relatively simple prospect. Are there any questions?
Yes, I do have questions regarding, this will be your Exhibit A.
Yeah.
The parcel 61024-003 and I think 002 and 014, don't they all have homes on them now?
Oh, yeah,
So these are served with
Wells.
wells at this point?
exactly.
Okay.
The intent of an area of benefit is whether or not they have a well or there's nothing on the property. If they decide to hook to the water line that someone spent their own nickel, so to speak, on putting into the ground, that they pay an apportionate price of the construction, engineering, so forth and so on.
Mr. Kramer, are the rest of those lots going down towards Pinion Drive also, they're not served either, Pinion Drive?
This is actually Quill Drive?
Yeah, this is Quill, but going west towards Pinion? None of those homes are actually,
West of this, no, west of this, there are a number of homes and none of them are served.
okay, that was my
Right.
additional
You have
question.
to go all the way to the other side of the, I think it's Comanche that comes off of Copper Cove Drive, and we have a water line over there. A
How
number of
close,
homes are served over there.
with this area, how close are we to hydrant service? I didn't mean to surprise you with that question.
That's okay, well, they connected to a fire hydrant, there's a hydrant right there on the extension that they connected to, which was installed in about 2001, 2002, something.
So that's where it's noted EFH, which is on the.
Right,
fire
yeah,
hydrant.
that's actually, sorry, I probably should have spelled that out, it means existing fire
Existing
hydrant.
fire. I'm just trying to bring this up for the record.
No, that's okay. And actually, that's a pertinent question. I just had someone call me from West Point who was beyond our service area that wanted to know the closest fire hydrant because they were purchasing a property and had to have it for insurance purposes,
Correct.
right? Are there any other questions?
Any other question?
Oh, we have gone over this, I think, in my last life, is when it came up. And it was,
We've actually talked about this project before, yes.
yes, And so what has been happening all this time? It's just,
It's completed. We've accepted the pipeline. They're receiving service, the Neville's are. And the 2006-05, which is the authority for establishing area of benefits, predicates establishing an area of benefit on our accepting the pipeline into our, into the district, which has been done. So this is in essence the next step. And they want to take it. Not everybody does, but they do.
Anything else?
I have no questions. I can move for acceptance.
I would second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any public comment regarding this item? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Item 4B, discussion regarding board meeting dates in November and December. Mr. Egerton?
Yes, Mr. Vice President, members of the board, this agenda item is to request consideration of cancellation of the second board meetings in November and December, is with the holidays and scheduling conflicts that we may incur as a result of that. We're suggesting that the board make this change. This is something that we've done in the past as well. Our default is two meetings a month, but I don't see the need for that. I think we can get all the work before the board in that meeting, and if we needed to, we could always call a special meeting in between those meetings.
This is something we seem to do every year,
Yeah.
because of Christmas and Thanksgiving at the end of November and December. Might have been something we could have been included in our consent agenda. But
Yeah.
and we'll also move for acceptance on this.
And I would second.
We have a motion and a second to change to delete the November and December meeting dates. What dates were those? This is the second meeting we're gonna,
Yes, the 23rd of November and 28th of December.
okay. Is there any public comment regarding this item? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 4C, update on the completion of West Point Regulating Reservoir Spillway Project. Teresa?
Good morning. I'm here today just to kind of give you what work was performed by district staff on the spillway repairs. As you know, we have the regulating reservoir for West Point Water System, which is a 50-acre-foot reservoir. And then from there, we have a spillway, so what we don't use goes back into the North Fork. So just to kind of give you an overview, this is looking at the spillway from the middle of it, looking up towards the top of the spillway. This is looking down.
That was the spillway.
Yes, that is the spillway.
Just to be clear.
This is the spillway.
This is what we owned before this project. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yes, this is the before pictures, and this is looking down from the spillway as well. And just back in January, one of our district staff, Tony Atnip, our distribution worker, noticed some problems within the erosion of the spillway. As you can see in the pictures above, we've got rebar showing, and we've got voids where the water has been going in and is going to erode and disrupt the spillway. So during the winter, here's some other pictures of the wear and tear on the spillway. The construction workers put bags of concrete over these voids to prevent any more erosion, because we didn't want to completely ruin the spillway.
Teresa, wasn't there a risk of potential failure of the spillway because of the
Yes,
condition?
it'll be all, that whole spillway would be undermined because of the eroding. You know, it was eroded all the way at the bottom, and they had to pour concrete and put rebar in, and the rest of it they filled with, they call it, oh my goodness, I've got a brain cramp here, but shotcrete. Okay, so that, and I'll go on with my story with that. They had to cut in footings, so they dug out. They first had to pressure wash the whole thing so they could see all the areas, clean it up so they could see what was going on. They cut in these footings. They were about 7 feet long, 2 feet wide, about a foot deep. And where there were voids, they also pumped in this fibrous shotcrete. Here we also had the catwalk that would help us to cross the spillway so we could look at the reservoir itself, so they had to move that all the way. Those are two of our construction crew, our construction supervisor, Chris Zanardi, and that looks like Roger. Roger was on our excavator. That is our mini excavator that we own ourselves. And then Ryan Sullivan also was driving truck and doing all the pressure washing, hauling the material away that we cut out. And then I wanted to show you some before and after. Nice. This is looking up at the top, you know, of the spillway, the before, the after, and looking down below. This was poured, I believe that's a 200-foot, it was 54 yards of concrete, so 200 feet long, between 7 and 10 feet wide in areas, and they poured a 4-inch cap along with filling in those footings. And then just to really let you know, this is the man hours, the materials that were used. Man hours, there's a lot of work that had to be done. You know, the pressure washing took a long time, hauling the material away. So we're looking at our 3 people, $11,970. The yards of the concrete and the pumper truck was $9,700. And the tools and rebar and equipment was $828. So a total of $22,501. I rounded off a little bit for you. And we got a bid that it would cost us, you know, $73,000 if somebody else did the work. And when we were talking about this, the construction crew told me, give us a chance and let us do it. We can do it. And I allowed them to do it, and they did a great job. So I just wanted to kind of toot their horn a little bit of what's going on, and that we look at projects that we can do in-house, and we try to keep them in-house. Also be able to buy locally as well to keep the money in the county. So,
Great job.
thank you. Are there any questions?
How many days did it take?
You know, I didn't have that offhand, but it took weeks. You know, it took, because
I
traveling.
was wondering about pour days, because
Oh, the pour days? The pour days was, I believe, 3 or 4 days, because they get the concrete in, and then they had to use a air compressor, because this was that spray, you know, shooting it on, and it had the fibers in it, so it took about 3 days to do all that.
So was it gunite or was it concrete?
Shotcrete,
Which is more flexible than,
right, and they had fibers, so they didn't have to do the rebar work.
right.
Yeah.
Great.
My comment has to do with this construction crew, because the formation of this construction crew, remember Jeff, was how many years ago that, you know, they said, let us try it, let us do it, let us see what, you know, what results would be. And I know that they have worked on doing other lift station covers. Is that what you did up in Avery or something? You did a lift station thing and,
Right, we've put in some lift
Yeah,
stations.
yeah.
We're going to be doing some work. Our next project here is doing some work on the Bluebell. So that's going to be part of the, you know, R&R project. So they're going to do a lot of that replacement, helping the distribution operators in the Jenny Lind area. So that's our first.
yeah.
I mean,
So,
it would be go ahead.
yeah, I just mean to say that this is a perfect example of what the employees, the field crews were able to come up with, and I'm just so pleased. I mean, bottom line.
Well, and it's
And
good.
their satisfaction also.
Right. And it's also good to let you guys know what we're up
Oh,
to, what we're
yeah.
doing in-house and how we're approaching things, so.
Oh, absolutely. Just really, really appreciate it. Thank you, Teresa, and your crew.
I'll make sure I let them know.
The only thought that I had was is to possibly develop some type of a capital improvement program plan that, so we can see what the timelines are, what their thoughts are, where they're wanting to
And we're in the
go.
process of doing that, and my whole theory is to get my field staff involved in what's out there, what we need to do, doing the planning, let them have ownership of what we need to do and prioritize.
Excellent, excellent.
And that's what Teresa said when she was promoted. She wanted to go back, you know, to her crew and get their input, because who else knows better?
They do,
Right.
yes, correct.
Big step, and congratulations to the crew and to yourself for what you've done here and taken this risk on, so to speak, 'cause it is a risk.
Yeah, it was either gonna make me or break me. No, I'm just kidding.
Teresa, how do you think our field staff is staffed right now, properly or shortage?
We have a
Right.
shortage. I mean, they're trying to do a lot with just, you know, you've got 3 like distribution operators in Jenny Lind, 2 right now in Copper, because we have a vacancy, and we have 3 up at the pass, and then only 1 in West Point. And whenever Tony needs help, he's got to pull resources. And with all the projects that we have going on up at the pass with Reach 3, you know, and the tank replacement, they're pulled short. I mean, they're busy trying to run those 2 projects as well as take care of the district.
Right,
So-
no, I'm starting to get calls about, about little things that are beginning to annoy people, and I know the reasons why, but I just think it's important that we start to address this field staffing problem, right now, before it really becomes bad, particularly when we're having to pull guys off of our normal field crews that go fix leaks and do patches and things of that nature to do some of these bigger projects. I mean, it's we have to staff up in the field, I believe. I think it's really important. I think the board needs to understand what that means. We're gonna have to come up with some revenue to do that, but it's my feeling, and I'm asking the question, that we're starting to run a little bit behind on our basic repairs.
Yes. Yeah, well, and 2, you have to look at the infrastructure and how it's aging. So therefore, we're having more situations, and we are trying to look at that plan of attack of how we're gonna approach them. So-
Right, well, our bigger projects that we've scheduled to do will help in some of this, but they're not being done so quickly that we don't have the ongoing everyday problems. And I just think that we need to, I want staff to recognize that, telling the board the truth is always the right thing. And if we're understaffed and we need to bring some more people on, then that's what we need to tell the board.
And that's another thing we're looking at. We're approaching, we're looking at a better work order system, so we know what's out there and what's being left out, what's left behind. It's a lot of paper right now, but we're trying to manage it with a different software so that we can just pull reports, so that we can see where our weaknesses are and where would be able to tell me and tell you the manpower that's necessary.
I have a question, talking about the staffing shortages. Are we experiencing that, whatever it was, situation where we were training the staff or the field forces and then they go to another higher paying job?
Not currently, no.
No.
I mean, the district has been pretty proactive in making sure, that the pay is sufficient enough to keep people here in the district, here in this county.
So
So
it's
we're not
just
having we're not
circumstances,
having
it's
the
just-
revolving door effect, no.
I think to Director Davidson's point is to possibly look at next year's budget and start developing an action plan that would encompass just exactly what are our structural needs that we can do in-house to be able to, because you always want to have the manpower to meet the need kind of thing. And if that can be built into the budget and we can do it in-house ourselves, I know TUD has experienced some great success with doing things in-house over there. Then look at that as a budget
That's-
item.
Yeah, that's what she says they
And
are
build
doing.
on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you, Teresa.
Is there any public discussion about this item? Okay, thank you, Teresa. Okay, old business, nothing to report. Item 6, general manager's report. Oh, I'm sorry,
No.
I skipped one. 4D, discussion action regarding board president and vice president positions, committee assignments, and other appointments. Dave, you want to?
You bet. Mr. Vice President, members of the board, this agenda item is the item that was put on the agenda at the direction of the board coming out of the last meeting to look at each of the assignments for committees and appointments to JPAs, as well as the president, vice president position in light of the last discussion regarding the situation with Director Strange. And with that, this is really just to allow the board to go over those items and to make a determination. I think that the specific committees that were discussed it was specifically the Legal Affairs Committee. And again, that would be part of that recommendation by council that in an abundance of caution, the Director Strange not participate in anything related to cannabis or federal matters for the district. And obviously, the Legal Affairs Committee would have that. As for the other committees, again, that would be in the discretion of the board to make that call. I would note that, these, regularly the board reviews this and makes appointments to committees and JPAs in January.
Yeah.
So that process will certainly be available to the board. If it desires on, like the JPAs or whatnot, just to let you know, if you make a change in the appointment to the JPA, that would require the filing of a new Form 700, the leaving office, assuming office, for who's going out and who's coming in as a representative. So it might be something the board would instead like to wait until January if it wants to make changes in that area. And of course, we have alternates as well, so if the board desires that Director Strange, step back and let other board members represent the district in any of these other appointments, that we could certainly have the alternate step up and attend those meetings and be the representative from the district. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Vice President.
I was under the impression that we were also going to consider whether to have our board chair and vice chair, this is an opportunity to have that change as well.
Yes, for President, Vice President, that was certainly discussed and is part of this item as well.
So, and if that is the will of the board, I would, and I'm asking, we would have to have a motion to change it, and a vote, I'm asking. And then would we have to have a nomination for president and then a nomination, and approve it, and then a nomination for vice president, or could it all be done in one full swoop if that's the will of the board?
I would recommend handling it as you normally would in the appointments that you make in January, and it's got to jog my memory to try to remember exactly the process on that. Maybe Mona or Matt would have a better recollection.
Well, I'm just wondering if we have to take action to make the change before we go
Before
with
you
our
actually
normal
appoint it in.
procedure, so I'm asking council.
Yeah, you would have to, if you're gonna change if you're gonna change vice president and president, you would do that first, and you, as Dave said, you would do it
So
each step.
if there was such a motion, it would be to open up the nominations
Right.
for president and vice president.
Yeah, you could do that.
And that's what I was gonna do. I would make a motion to open the nominations for president and vice president for the board, for the district.
Okay, so we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Is there any public comment regarding taking an action to change the president and vice president of the board?
I would recommend it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Now, I believe what we would do is open a nomination for the position of president.
I would make a motion to nominate Director Davidson as president.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any public comment to that motion?
Splendid idea.
You should come to our meetings more often.
With pom-poms.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I would like to make a motion to nominate Bertha Underhill as vice president.
I'll second that. Is there any public comment regarding that item?
Wonderful.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
My next motion would be regarding the Legal Affairs Committee. I would defer to our general manager's counsel on this, and simply just to ask that Mr. Strange be removed from that committee pending the decision in January by the full board to, or for the president to make that decision.
Well, I would like to see the
Vice chair.
vice chair and the alternate move up to the position in each of these items. That would be my recommendation.
I would withdraw my motion and concur with your thought.
Okay. And I believe in regards to the committees, the board chair has the authority to do that? Okay. and-
Just for clarity, though, Mr. President, you said the vice chair and the alternate to move up to those positions. I just want to make sure we understand exactly. So for the Legal Affairs Committee, would that be?
Radman and Mills.
Okay.
And just to understand, there will be subsequent changes in January. as you-
Right.
Right.
And the alternate, would we have an alternate for that committee or no? Just to have Retterman and Mills for
I
the
will-
time being?
I will be the alternate in the Legal Affairs Committee.
Okay.
Director Underhill will be the other executive committee member. Now, in regards to the joint powers authorities, I believe we have to agendize these separately.
Yes, if you're going to make changes to this would require action by the board.
Is there, just in the, for a matter of caution, is there any reason for the camera or T-stand for us to consider making changes?
The question would just be, who do you want as your representative before those entities? So if this is, if that's something you want to make a change to, otherwise it would remain as stated here. But again, we have to, we're going to make the change in January.
Yes.
And it could simply, if you wish to weigh in on this, you could simply, if you wanted to, you could express your desire that the alternate step in and be the representative and have Director Strange take a back seat at this time for the remainder of the year, if that's the desire of the board,
It's your choice.
without formally having to make a
You're
change that would
president,
require
so
new
you can-
filings.
You can select
What's-
whoever you desire.
I just, I wonder what their agenda is gonna be focusing on in the next couple months. Typically, it's probably light, but,
We do have a camera meeting coming up, I believe, next week, 19th, and I don't believe on UMRA that there's another meeting until January, I believe is the next meeting. Is that right?
the camera meeting is a two-person, with an alternate.
The
And
T-stand
there's no
does,
chairman or anything, it's just we have two people that sit on that committee.
for camera, there's a chairman, but we're not the chair at this time.
Okay. All right, well, I think at this time, I think we'll just leave that alone, and then we'll see how things shake out. I think Director Strange knows that if there's any potential conflict, that he'll step down at this time if he needs to. And perhaps at that meeting, we'll talk to Director Strange and just have him inquire within that agency whether or not they feel that he has a conflict or not.
Okay.
And specific to that joint powers, does that sound reasonable? Okay.
Sounds reasonable.
The one T-stand
Yes.
has a lot going at this time, and from the list of committees, that one would have been the one I'd be most interested in. But I think at this point, Peter Martin, is pretty up on what's happening at that committee, so that I would suggest, or I would move that he represent Calaveras in that.
I don't know, I mean, I guess it's possible, but,
He represents us on the advisory committee that's at a staff level. This represents this is the JPA board itself, which would need to be board members, members from this board to participate on our behalf. So,
So he is on the advisory part. Oh, that's the one that meets in the morning and?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, okay.
Are you not interested?
Oh,
Bertha?
yeah, no, but I was,
Okay.
his bringing in his knowledge is the one
Well-
that's very important.
I agree.
if any of the board members think that we should because I believe we have to agendize this to make a change. If any of the board members want to do that, I'm content with that.
I think we're so close to the end of the year at this
Right,
point
right.
that the impact will be minimal.
Well, then again, I'm gonna make a recommendation to Director Strange that if he goes before these, that he and I believe he will ask if he has a conflict, and I think we can let those agencies, at least as long as he's forthcoming on some of his activities that may be in conflict with federal laws, I believe he will do that, and so
And I
we
would
can,
defer to the legal staff of those various JPAs to make that determination for him.
yeah, okay, perfect.
And I will be present with them at the Cameron meeting next week.
Okay.
And we'll make sure that gets followed through with.
All right, great.
Leslie, Mr. President, just to be clear, on the actual committees itself, there were changes that were made to the Legal Affairs Committee and to the Executive Committee.
Yes.
I did not hear any change to the Engineering Committee, where Director Strange is appointed to that at this time. And I would, based on what I've heard, I would assume he would stay on that committee, and unless there's a matter that's of conflict, he would participate in that.
I would
Okay.
like to see that be the case.
I agree, I don't see a conflict there.
Well, and if the one comes up, we'll definitely
Right.
be on it. Okay, anything else on that matter? Okay, item 5, old business, nothing to report. Number 6, general manager's report.
Yes, Mr. President, members of the board, I just wanted to remind you that we have LAFCO training again. This, again, is members of LAFCO, and this is provided us at no additional cost through CSDA. This is our ethics training, the AB 1234. That will be this Friday from 2 to 4 p.m., again, at the Board of Supervisors room. If anybody is interested in attending that hasn't already signed up, just let our board clerk know, and we'll make sure you're on the list for that. Again, I want to thank them for providing that training to us. That's a great service for us. I want to note that our conservation, just to give you a little information on where we are on our water conservation, as you know, we report this on a monthly basis to the State Water Board now. We are, and you may have heard some in the news about the fact that there's been at least within the last month or two, a drop within the amount of cumulative savings across the state by water agencies. I just want to let you know that's the same situation that we have experienced as well within our own agency. Our water conservation in June and July, June was about 29%, and we were at about 21% in July. In August, I believe we were at 11% conservation in August, and then 9.5 in September. So we've also seen a reduction in the amount of conservation. Now, we're still meeting all of our requirements We did the self-certification process. This is, that's fine. But we just want to get the word out to the public that, we still want to use our water wisely. We want to be efficient in our use. The state is paying close attention to this. We're still in this, experiencing the continuing drought. Our local water supply condition, as we're able to do this self-certification, is in pretty good condition. We do have supplies to meet our needs this year and going forward. But again, we're still part of that statewide conversation, and the state is paying attention to this, and we recognize that conservation does have to be a continuing way of life, and that'll be the continuous message that we put out to the public, and Joel will continue to get that across. We want to let the public and the state know that we're still committed to water use efficiency and conservation. Lastly, I just wanted to report, we had some great news from the Regional Water Quality Control Board. Finally took action to approve our amended permit, our waste discharge permit for our Copper Cove wastewater facility. And I wish Teresa were here to recognize her for her, and Jesse as well, for their fantastic work, and Bob Godwin. I want to point his work on that as well. Back from 2006, we were under a time schedule order to come into compliance on a number of different factors at our facility that under our permit needed to be addressed. And we have done a number of projects over the years to address that. We had a continuing issue on the nitrate levels in the discharge, and how would we address that? And if it was potentially going to be a very, very expensive project to have to do capital projects to improve our facility to meet the compliance requirements. Instead of that, our staff was able to work with the regional board staff to come up with an alternative solution whereby we could actually make changes to our permit to change the point of monitoring. So the actual point, the place within the system that we actually now do our sampling, that allows us to meet our requirement. We have fully meet the requirements of the permit, but we don't have to do all of those very expensive multi-million-dollar improvements at our facility as a result. And I really can't thank staff enough, and the regional board, and Pamela Creed, and the executive officer, for really spending a lot of time with us and helping us through that. And now the regional board has adopted that amendment, and that's a really, I think, a very important development, and has saved our ratepayers a lot of money.
Thank you.
And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Next item is board reports, information, future agenda items. Director Underhill.
Okay, well, Dennis and I attended the Finance Committee, or the update on finance, and what I did was, this was put on by CSDA, a local boy, Dane Wadley. Does anyone recognize that? Wadley is a Calaveras family. Anyway, it's the board's role in finance and fiscal responsibility, and it was just an excellent course. So what I did was ask if I could get copies for the rest of the board, and
Great.
I was, because at one time or the other, we will all serve on the finance committee, right? And so it was just an excellent.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Okay, Tuolumne County conducted, and this was the same day as the East Bay Mud picnic, Sierra Nevada tree mortality, and they had a very impressive speaker forum, and I was wondering if there was some way we could see about getting it, seeing the video or getting it put on public.
It's on public television in Tuolumne County.
In Tuolumne County, see, that's the problem.
It's on YouTube.
How do you do YouTube?
Do you have any grandchildren? That's them, they'll tell you.
So this is the program from 2Care that was at the
Yes,
same time?
yes, yes.
And we'll be happy to send you a link to where you can access that. So we can email you a link to that.
Great, because it sounded very impressive. White Pines Park has asked, they're asking permission to add a third toilet to the facilities down by the lake because it's quite a popular place. And so this letter went to the county because the county, has the lease with White Pines Park Committee, and then ultimately it will come to us to see if they can do that. They're not tearing down any walls or anything, so that's what that was. We attended a meeting at Forest Meadows. Dave was up there to talk about our facilities up there, our treatment plant and what have you, because as you all know, I think you know that the 18-hole golf course was cut down to 9, and it's, you know, they've lost 2,900 rounds of golf up at Forest Meadows because of this. Well, golf out the hill is not doing well at Forest Meadows. It's okay at Sequoia Woods, and, well, we don't have Meadowmont anymore, but they're talking about the decrease in the number of people who are interested in playing golf. Now, they're not talking about Dave or Scott or Matt, but overall, that's what's happening. Let me see, so I went to that, and that's it.
Okay, Director Mills?
Information only, there is going to be a Water Resource Board hearing November 4th in Modesto. You might want to write it down. It's 9 a.m. At the Modesto Center Plaza, Tuolumne River Room, L Street. The reason I bring that up is because this is part of the governor's fast track that we had talked about earlier. I had an opportunity to reach out to several legislators within the state, and they are now have agreed to 4 meetings in the valley regarding the fast track process. And this is our time to give input. So if we have something to say, we need to say it there. I was at the 2Care meeting before the party situation. And then after that, I had an opportunity to have a meeting with Congressman McClintock and also 2 supervisors from Tuolumne County regarding the Stanislaus, Lake Tulloch, and the water issues. It looks like we have some common ground, and we'll be moving that forward. And I certainly would like to include General Manager Edgerton or somebody from the staff in those kind of discussions as we go forward, because I know TUD is also very interested in that process. And then I went to your training. It was very good to see in that training just how far ahead of general practices we are, Jeff. Thank you because you were there as well. I mean, you saw it very clearly that our staff has a very good grasp on the financial matters involving the district, and that there are other districts, I'm telling you, they need to get up to speed. It's amazing, by the way, Gatsby 68, the unfundeds, with the county. I just want this as public record, $147 million. I mean, we need to be serious about how we're going to respond to that in the county, because that's going to affect the district and everybody who lives here if we don't get a handle on it. So that's about all I have for now.
Okay, Director Radaman?
Coming up, camera meeting next week on the 19th, should be right here in this room. And following week is the McQuallen River Association meeting, which we held at Lake Amador. That's on Friday the 28th. Those are the only things I got coming up on my schedule that I wish to report on.
Okay, I have nothing specific to report. Next board meeting will be October 26th.
Excuse me, Director Davidson. I just wanted to remind the board that there's a finance committee meeting next Tuesday, the 18th, here in the boardroom at 10 a.m.
Okay. All right, moving on to the next board meeting, Wednesday, October 26th at 9 a.m. Oh, that's a legislative workshop. Okay, meeting's adjourned.
Oh, my. Congratulations, Jeff. That is a record. That is a record. Jeff.
Just forgot how easy it can be.